Talking Shirts is presented in partnership with White Oak Cottage. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Hello, welcome. This is episode number 157 of Talking Shirts. I'm Mike of Hull KR Shirts, and today we're going to take a look at this 2015 third shirt. Now, the 2015 third shirt was more commonly known as the PNG shirt, and I guess you can see why. The Stanley Jean Foundation was the charity partner for Hull KR in 2015, so when they decided to produce a charity shirt, the Stanley Jean Foundation was probably quite high up on that list. A donation was made from each sale of each shirt to the Stanley Jean Foundation, and there was also various projects that was run in terms of supporters giving and donating old shirts to the foundation, which was then packed up in a cargo container and sent off to Papua New Guinea. We've had plenty of connections to PNG over the years. You can think that obviously Stanley, who was associated with the club now for probably coming up to 3 decades. You think he was a player in the late 90s, returned when the club got into the Super League, and then he did some sort of back of house roles in the coaching department as well. There's been some other famous Robins, just to name a few, that have represented Papua New Guinea as well as Hull KR. You think of Makali Azu and John Okel. Obviously, John's still got ties to the club to this day. And then we've also got the current captain of PNG, Rhys Martin. He is currently playing for Hull KR in this 2026 season as well. Obviously a treble winner from that 2025 season. So, yeah, the connections between Papua New Guinea and Hull KR are probably going to be there for a very, very long time. The shirt itself has elements of the PNG flag within it. Obviously, the main feature of the front there is the Kumul bird, even though its head is kind of covered by the Hull KR club crest, which is a little bit of a shame, really. It would have been nice if that could have been adapted slightly, but I guess it just is what it is. That silhouette kind of dominates the front of the shirt in that red. Other colours that we found on the front of the shirt are yellow as well, and even though there isn't really that much of it other than what's on the logo, the shirt does look quite orangey as well, and I think that's just the fact of that we've got sort of these yellow and red lines that are just kind of working against each other, starting quite broad and then getting a bit thinner. Those basically do work against each other to kind of form that look of an orange, or at least I feel that way about it anyway. All of the sponsors on this shirt feature in their natural colourway. So we've got IRS in that collar slot, just on the collarbone there. We've got Malcolm West Forklifts. They made a return to sponsoring some Hull KR merchandise in 2026 with sponsoring the Vegas training range. We've got Fita, that's the manufacturer maker marker that features in black on that yellow element of the shirt. And then we have got the Hull Kingston Rovers club crest, the one that the club used between 2006 and 2021. We've got Clear Sky, that's the front of shirt sponsor for the 2015 season. That features in white on top of the red and yellow. I think that works quite well. The gel grips are lines of 3 on either side. One of these where I almost think, why bother? You would expect it to be a little bit more centrally, but obviously on these ones they are just kind of going down the side there. In the jock tag position down the bottom there, we have got the Stanley Jean Foundation logo. This is where I can see a little bit of orange in the Kumul bird on that logo, which again is making me think that there is more orange on this shirt, but it is actually just red, yellow and black. One interesting point about the front of this shirt is that we've got a little bit of wear here. Now, these are some marks that have clearly come from game damage. Hull KR wore this shirt in a Hull derby at Sulgrove Craven Park on the 17th of July 2015. And if I'm really honest, I'm not quite sure that was probably the best fixture to wear a charity kit in. Now, I'm one of these people where when I'm seeing Hull FC and Hull KR come head to head, I really want to see it in red and white and black and white. And obviously in the 2026 season, we saw Hull FC come to Craven Park and wear one of their alternate strips. And for me, it just doesn't feel right when you're watching these two sort of titans of rugby league going up against each other, not in their natural home colours. But anyway, this shirt was worn against Hull FC, and I have actually been able to pick out this mark that's on here on the TV footage from the game. I do have a recording of the full game, and I saw a close-up of Ken Sio, and this mark is a little bit more prominent. It looks like this shirt's probably, well, it almost certainly will have been laundered, and has taken some of the darkness to these black marks away. However, it was a really, really good sign that this shirt was the match-worn shirt from that game. Right, so we'll look at these sleeves. Now, there's a couple of things that are really interesting about this, and if you've not seen me cover one of these shirts before, because I did in an earlier episode of Talking Shirts, you're probably going to learn something. So on these sleeves here, you'll notice that we've got A.A. Jones Electric. Their branding features in their natural colourway. Now, you'll also notice that we've got these heat-applied elements. Now, we've got the Kingston Press Cider. That was a sponsor from the Super League, and that is something that should feature on all of these sleeves. Well, as you can see, that only just fits on, and it does only just fit on, and it goes onto these red cuffs as well. Realistically, this should not overlap. You can kind of see here where the cuff starts and the sleeve ends. Now, basically, what happened is, and I don't know quite how it happened, but when this shirt was put together, the A.A. Jones branding was way lower than it should have been. It should have probably been 2 to 3 inches higher. We've got shirts that I've covered from 2015 before, the home and the away, and this A.A. Jones Electrical is higher on both. Now, for some reason, that didn't happen during the manufacturing process of this 2015 charity shirt. So, yeah, it must have made life really, really awkward. Now, any of the playing shirts from this game have all got these brands heat applied much lower than they actually should be. Now, that wasn't the only issue. It was also on the other sleeve as well. And on the other sleeve, we had A1 tyres. And again, their branding should also have been a little bit higher. It does feature in its natural colourway, something where it's not often you'll get a black and white sponsor with a little bit of red, I guess, on a Hull KR shirt, and it kind of look okay. But because of the black elements of this shirt, they kind of get away with it. But yeah, this First Utility Super League competition patch, as you can see, has been cut across the top. Now, this patch has a purple border that goes all the way around, so realistically it probably should have come up to here. Now, if that was applied in its entirety, that would have covered up this A1 tyre sponsor, which would have probably have caused all sorts of issues. Now, I don't really know what the best solution would have been, really. I guess they could have heat applied the First Utility competition patch over the brands on either sleeve, and put it towards the cuff line here, and then just ordered some vinyl with an A1 tyre sponsor and an A.A. Jones for the other side, and then just heat applied those up here. We did see it in 2013 where the sponsors patches was moved due to the placement of a sponsor patch which needed to be applied from the Super League. You may remember we had Heinz Soup, or Heinz Big, I think it was. That featured as a big sort of like green logo. I will pop some pictures up, even though it's not massively relevant to this episode. But yeah, when you look at that, you'll see that we've actually heat applied the, I think, is it Jackson's? I hope I'm right here, because I'm going to be putting a picture up, and if that doesn't say Jackson's, then I've got it wrong. But yeah, I think it's Jackson's, and that basically has a heat applied patch that's been put on there. And basically what that's done is it's just allowed them to put both of the sponsors on in the correct positions, even though one of them was heat applied in the wrong location. So yeah, that's the front and the sides. We're just going to have a quick word from our partner, and then we'll be back with part 2.
White Oak Cottage is a 2-bedroom luxury holiday cottage set in the stunning Lincolnshire Wolds. It has 2 ensuite bedrooms, a hot tub, wood burner, Wi-Fi, electric vehicle charger, and is pet friendly. It is ideally situated in the Wolds, yet only 15 miles from the coast and 25 miles from the historic city of Lincoln. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Welcome back to episode number 157 of Talking Shirts. Before the break, we was talking our way around Ken Sio's 2015 third shirt, and now we are back with the reverse. So as you can see from looking at it here, the design elements from the front of the shirt, they also continue on the back. Now, there is no red silhouette of the camel bird. That is something that is exclusive to the front of this shirt. However, these diagonal lines, they do feature. So we've got those alternating from red to yellow. Still looks orange to me, but I reckon that's just that sort of colours just playing that trick on your mind. And these lines do gradually get thicker as they progress from the right-hand side to wearing to the left. Now, within the middle of that, we have got the blocked out patch. That's something we've spoken quite a lot about on episodes of Talking Shirts. That makes the name and the number very visible on the back of a shirt, which I think we can confirm on this occasion works very, very well. Before we talk a little bit more about that though, let's talk about the sponsors on the back of this shirt. So at the top there, we have got Yorkshire Staffing Services. That is there, you'll have to believe me unless I pop a picture up, because it is very difficult to see. And the reason that is difficult to see is because we have got this GPH pouch. Now on these 2015 shirts, or in fact any of them that Fita produced, the pouch that it went in was made of some really, really thick material. So it does jut out on the back of a shirt. It almost looks like that this shirt has a GPS tracker in it. It doesn't, but it does look that way. Underneath that, we've got the Archbishop Centre Academy, Church of England, and then at the bottom there, we have got Hull College. Now, something else that this shirt has on the back is a little bit of reinforced stitching. So you'll notice here, it's hard to see on the yellow, but on the black, you'll see this line of stitching that goes all the way around. That's basically just to help reinforce that neckline to make sure that in contact, these shirts didn't rip. Now, this shirt here was only used in a one-off game, so the chance of it ripping were probably fairly slim. But you can tell that there's been quite a lot that's gone into these in terms of the manufacturing to keep them in one piece. The letters and numbers on this shirt have been really well applied. Everything is quite central. It's all very, very neat. The letters don't actually have a white outline in them. That is just exclusive to the numbers. So the letters are solid black. Obviously, we've only got the 3 on there for Sio, SI and O. That looks to have been applied as a name block due to the fact that it's all very sort of neat, tidy, and appears to be quite straight. There doesn't look to have been too much human application error in terms of lining those up. So I would assume that has been a name block. Underneath that, we have got squad number 5. That number 5 does have that white outline, and it also has the Super League logo within it as well. That is something where we've seen that appear on quite a lot of these, so that is something that is very, very common. Some other things on the back of the shirt, you'll notice that there's some sort of black marks down here. These are consistent, and this one up here. With the black marks on the front of the shirt, there was maybe something on the pitch that night, which has obviously attached itself to the shirt, and during that laundry process hasn't actually come out. So yeah, these are really, really good sort of match-worn signs for me. Yeah, this shirt was worn by Ken Sio against Hull FC, as I've mentioned, 17th of July 2015. He played on the wing in that day. There was only one sort of notable moment when I was watching the game back, trying to find some footage of this shirt in action to make sure that I could confirm that what it was. And there was a moment where he was at fault, if you like, for a try for Hull FC. It did look like the Hull FC player sort of... It was a one-on-one ball steal, but it does look like it was pulled out forward and then grounded. I think if it had been happening in the Super League over the weekend, then it would have probably been a 30-minute review to see whether it was a knock-on or a safe ball steal, or whether, you know, Ken just didn't have control of it and threw it backwards. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's in the past now. You win some, you lose some. But yeah, that was in the moment where I'd kind of caught this shirt in action and was able to sort of line up the name and the number on the back of the shirt to be sort of quite happy to confirm that the shirt was worn in that game. Ken Sio was with the club for 2 years. He made 61 appearances in 2015 and 2016. Across those 2 seasons, he scored 36 tries, which was sort of a better ratio than a try every other game for a club that was sort of struggling in that era. 2015, obviously, we competed in the middle eights, as we did again in 2016. So, you know, we weren't necessarily competing for honours, although we did play at Wembley in 2015, but most people like to forget that one. Yeah, he also converted 13 goals as well. We had a bit of a kicking crisis. Where have I had that before? Yeah, and he did convert 13 goals in his career for Hull KR as well. Somebody who was used quite often as a winger, but also as a fullback as well. I think his squad number changed for 2016, actually. I think he became number 1, didn't he? So yeah, there was elements of sort of trying to suit his game to our style of play as well. But, you know, his last game for the club was in that £1 million game at the end of 2016. But he was somebody who, you know, he did continue on in the Super League. Eventually, he played games at Salford, which I'm sure that we'll all remember. But yeah, somebody for me who, you know, quite proud to say that Ken represented our club and was somebody who... every time he led the field, he was somebody who was sort of letting his actions do the talking. Yeah, somebody who I was very, very happy to be able to see represent Hull Kingston Rovers. So yeah, that's everything for episode number 157. We talked our way around this Papua New Guinea charity third shirt. One that kind of probably divides a lot of opinion, to be honest. It's not my favourite in terms of its aesthetics. It's not my favourite because we wore it in a derby as well. I just think, maybe, pick your times, but I guess maybe that brought maybe a more awareness and more eyes, and, I can understand why, but for me, it's just not a decision that I would have made personally. So yeah, that's everything. Episode number 158 next. I'm going to cover something that's slightly relevant to the number 58 in episode number 158. If anybody can guess, drop me a message and I'll give you a shout out when I'm recording. If anybody can pick out what share I'm going to cover for episode number 158, where the number 58 is very, very relevant. Okay, thank you very much. That's everything. This one's in the can. Hope to see you all very soon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.